What do you do when the whole world says it's over for you? When prayers seem unanswered? When tears fall silently? When your heart is breaking and God feels far away? This is the story of Hannah, a woman who turned her pain into a prayer, and her prayer into a miracle. Join me as we journey through the story of Hannah. Long before Hannah's famous prayer at Shiloh, her daily life was a quiet battlefield. She lived in the household of Elkanah, a man who loved her, but also loved another. In those days, barrenness wasn't just a private sorrow, it was a public shame. In ancient Israel, a woman's value was often tied to her ability to bear sons, children to carry on the family name, to work the land, to defend the clan. And Hannah had none, but Peninnah did. Peninnah, Elkanah's second wife, was fertile and fruitful. She had many sons and daughters. Every cry of a newborn in Peninnah's arms was a fresh wound in Hannah's heart. Hannah lived with an ache she could not escape. Her husband Elkanah loved her dearly, but she could not give him a child. And in the same house was Peninnah, his other wife, fruitful, proud, cruel. Year after year, Peninnah flaunted her children while whispering sharp words behind smiling lips. What kind of woman can't give her husband a son? But Hannah said nothing. She only wept. The scriptures say Peninnah provoked her severely to make her miserable. 1 Samuel 1 verse 6. She didn't merely ignore Hannah. She taunted her, mocked her, humiliated her. At family meals, Peninnah would gather her children around her, while Hannah sat alone. When preparing for sacrifices, Peninnah would boast, "See how the Lord has blessed me with so many sons." Poor Hannah, she must have some hidden sin. Every time Hannah looked at Peninnah's children running and laughing, she was reminded of her own emptiness. And Peninnah didn't waste any opportunity to twist the knife deeper. Peninnah's cruelty wasn't casual, it was intentional, designed to break Hannah's spirit. And it worked. Year after year, Hannah's heart grew heavier. Every year, they went to the tabernacle to worship. But worship wasn't easy when her womb was empty and her heart was shattered. Elkanah tried to comfort her. "Why are you weeping? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? But he didn't understand. This wasn't about worth. This was about calling. Hannah didn't just want a child for herself. She longed to give something back to God. Shiloh was supposed to be a place of joy, of thanksgiving, of feasting before God. But for Hannah, it became a place of tears. At the sacred meal, Elkanah tried to comfort her by giving her a double portion of food, a symbol of special love. But no feast could satisfy a starving heart. Hannah would not eat. She would weep bitterly. She could not be consoled. That night, Hannah fell to her knees. No fancy words, no rehearsed speeches, just raw, broken, desperate prayer. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Tears streamed down her face as she wept before the Lord. And from the depths of her soul, she made a vow. "O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head." 1 Samuel 1 verse 11. Hannah didn't just ask for a child for her own joy. She offered to give that child back to God, dedicating him as a Nazirite, a lifelong servant wholly belonging to the Lord. As Hannah prayed silently, Eli the high priest watched her. He saw her lips moving with no word spoken, her body swaying with emotion, and he misunderstood her. Eli stood and rebuked her sharply. "How long will you be drunk? Put away your wine." But Hannah, though hurt, answered with humility, "No, my Lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord." In that moment, Eli realized the sincerity. His harshness melted into blessing. "Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition which you have asked of him." Something changed in Hannah that day. She rose from her knees. She wiped her tears. She returned to her family and ate the meal she once refused. Her circumstances hadn't changed yet, but her heart had. She believed that God had heard her. Even before seeing the miracle, she carried the peace of the promise. In due time, the Lord remembered Hannah. She conceived and bore a son. She named him Samuel, meaning heard by God, because God had heard her cry. Samuel was not just any son. He would grow to be the final judge of Israel. Hannah had prayed for a child. God gave her a prophet. When Samuel was old enough to be weaned, around 3 years old, Hannah did the unthinkable. She brought him back to Shiloh, not to visit, to give him to the Lord forever. She said to Eli, "I am the woman who stood here praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition which I asked of him. Therefore I have also lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to the Lord." And there, before the Lord, Hannah worshipped. She kept her vow. She surrendered her greatest treasure back to God. And in time, God blessed Hannah with more children, 3 more sons and 2 daughters. But Samuel remained her first offering, the living testimony of a mother's prayer, a mother's faith, and a mother's surrender. And it was Samuel, the son she gave away, who would anoint kings, call down truth, and shape the destiny of Israel, because one woman dared to pray and to let go. Lesson from Hannah's story. 1. God sees the brokenhearted. Hannah's pain was invisible to others, but not to God. Even when it feels like heaven is silent, God sees every tear and hears every silent prayer. 2. Prayer is powerful when it's honest. Hannah didn't recite fancy words. She poured out her soul. Real prayer isn't about formality. It's about raw, vulnerable connection with God. 3. Faith comes before the answer. Hannah's peace came before she conceived Samuel. True faith trusts that God is working, even when nothing has changed yet. 4. God honors sacrifice and surrender. Hannah's willingness to give Samuel back to God opened the door for greater blessings, not only for her, but for the entire nation of Israel. 5. Delay is not denial. For years Hannah faced shame and silence, but the delay was preparing her for something bigger, the birth of one of Israel's greatest prophets. Hannah's story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, God is writing a bigger story, that silent prayers move the heart of heaven, that when we dare to trust, to surrender, and to believe, God can turn our mourning into miracles. If you ever felt forgotten, overlooked, or broken, remember Hannah. You are seen, you are heard, and the God who answered Hannah still answers today. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring Bible stories. And remember, your miracle could be just one prayer away.